what state, what country, where are you coming from? We're glad you're here. There's a lot of things you could be doing right now, but you decided to be with us, so we appreciate that. Thanks for being here. I got a great guest here today, and I'm excited about my guest. And this is the first time that I'm actually going to be coached. I'm going to get coached today. Usually I'm interviewing others, but I'm going to be kind of coached today. So you'll see me being vulnerable here today for a little bit. Let me get my guest on the screen. There we go. I'm excited. Lila, good to see you.
It's always good to see you. Although I was having a nice time with that rolling river.
Oh, you're liking that?
Very peaceful. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of
like
gets.
Spa.
Yeah, it's because it's all in the mood. Kind of a nice, calm, chill vibe. We got a little music in the background.
Light a candle.
Exactly. So yeah, today I'm gonna get coached today, guys. So you're gonna watch me kind of go through it. I had the opportunity to be involved with a course, the Shea Rowbottom course, and they had Lila on as a special guest that day, and I was really impressed with her. She has kind of a whole system about how to say things better. So Lila, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so good to be here and so good to see you again. I love Shea. I love her content. I love how she organized her group to give a variety of value to the people who went through it, including bringing in other guest coaches like myself to add perspectives that weren't her own as a complement to that experience. So I really respect and admire that. And I loved the people that I got to meet in that group, especially people like you and Cody and people who I just really got excited about what they had to say. So this session today that we're doing live, you're really allowing the people in your network to see what it looks like to get coached one-on-one. Obviously, that looks different for everyone. Every person that I work with has a different experience, and every coach that you work with feels different to you. We're going to go with the Say Things Better methodology today. And so you'll hear me bring up a couple of terms that might be new for our viewers and listeners and for yourself. And I'll explain what those are when they come up, but mostly it's pretty intuitive. So I'm excited to get into this, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. And so how do we want to handle the comments today? I want to make sure I don't ignore them totally.
If you see one that comes up and you want to address it, just say, hold on 1 second, we've got a comment I want to bring up and share.
Okay, and I'll just...
Especially if it adds value to the conversation.
Okay, perfect. And what I'll do is, just initially, I'm just going to go ahead and recognize those who said hi and welcomed in, which is going to be Joe and BB and Roy and Shabnam. Thank you for all joining us.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, I recognize some of these people. Actually, I recognize BB also. Like, I recognize some of these names, just hearing them out loud. I'm not looking at anything, but that's great. It's so nice to have friendly faces. If you are following this session along at home, imagine for yourself what your questions might be. If you have questions about communication or about getting your message across to your audience in a brand capacity, put those questions in the chat, in comments, and if we can get to some of them, or I can answer a few things at once, then we'll do it. But this is really for Rollis. Rollis, you've got some communication goals you had talked to me about, including LinkedIn and your company in general, making sure you're adding value to your relationships. It's a very professional, sort of the brand angle. But I also want to acknowledge, before we begin all the super professional stuff, that you have been married for 21 years.
Yes.
So clearly you communicate enough, at least with one person, that
That's a good
she has
point.
agreed to allow you to live and in close proximity to her
Yes.
for over 2 decades. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. She keeps renewing my contract each year, which I appreciate.
How do you do that? How do you get her to keep renewing?
I think one of the advantages that we had when we met, before we even met, is we had a similar view of what commitment level we both would need to have to the relationship. That it was one that we were both going to be fully committed to and see it all the way through. And so we have similar values, core, even though we're very different personalities, our core values are very much aligned. So I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's very important because people really break on values differences. What are some of those core values for you that you share?
We both were raised in a family atmosphere of a lot of volunteer work,
Okay.
and helping and serving others, and we both feel that part of our we are very, what some would term spiritual or religious or whatever, what have you, and so we feel that our core relationship with our Creator is part of it is in alignment with us being in line with each other. Like, in other words, I can't say, oh, I'm doing great serving God, but I'll treat my wife bad, or her vice versa.
Yeah.
So we actually look at it as kind of everything's kind of like one whole together. And so, what's kind of cool, some simple things that I enjoy is that there's certain things that she knows that I like, that she does for me without me even thinking that I need it yet or ask for it yet. And then I try and do the same thing for her.
To anticipate,
Yeah.
that's like amazing.
Yeah.
Somebody can do that for you. And you appreciate that when she
Yes.
sense what you need and provide whatever that is.
Yeah. She actually did it for me today.
What did she do?
So I was hungry, but I wasn't ready to get up, but I wasn't like really itching to get up because I was really busy with what I was doing. And as I'm on a conference call, all of a sudden she peeks around and hands me a plate of food.
Ooh.
I was like, oh,
What
that's
was
awesome.
it? What was the food?
It was eggs and ham and cheese inside two pieces of bread. So it was like a egg and cheese sandwich and ham, and it was awesome.
And easy to eat while you're busy.
Yes, it was easy to eat while I was, yes.
So here's why I asked what the food was. Because I already hear that one of your values is to serve. And I express values in verb form because then we know if we're doing them or not. Like, am I serving? Am I doing this? And I love that you've already acknowledged that one value applies everywhere. So if you're serving God, it must also be your message to serve your audience, must also be your message to serve your wife. And she literally served you a plate of food. And then it goes deeper. It's what is it that she's serving you? And so what is she doing to you? It sounds like she's really nourishing you.
Yes.
Like to nourish you. What are some other ways that she nourishes you, gives you nutrients of any kind in your life?
She makes sure that I'm taken care of health-wise. If she can look at me and see if something's off, and she'll ask questions and see, when was the last time you've eaten, or what's going on? Are you okay? She can tell, and I can hide it from the world, but I can't hide it from her. So why
can you hide it from the world?
What's that?
Why are you able to hide it from the world?
Well, I mean, I can smile with the best of them if things aren't going well, and I can fake it to a point where I'm just not burdening other folks with whatever my issues are. But I'm not able to do that with my wife. She's here she sees me at my core here one-on-one, so I'm not able to hide a lot of those things from her. And a lot of things on my face, there's certain cues that she can catch that maybe someone else doesn't catch.
She knows you well enough. She sees your subtext.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So for anybody who's listening who doesn't recognize that word, subtext, at least in a theater, in a play setting, and that's my background, is in theater, and how I listen, how I talk, how I communicate is really informed by what I learned in theater. Subtext, you look between the lines, not what's written, but what the playwright intended for you to understand outside of the words. So that subtext shows up. It shows up all the time. And I wonder, Rollis, like really how much you're really fooling everybody else, or if they're just giving you privacy and not calling you on it.
Ooh, that's a possibility. Wow.
It is. I have to ask you because I run these workshops. I run a workshop in particular called Verb Your Values. The next one is on Wednesday evening, or if you're in Australia, I guess it's Thursday afternoon. But in this workshop, and we did some of this in our last session with Shay's group, we ask people, how strong is your BS meter?
Oh, wow.
And in all of these workshops, over 85% of the people who attend say that their BS meter is at least pretty good to very high.
Okay.
And of those people, the same group of people, over 90% have done this to someone else, where they put on a happy face or pretend to be present in a moment.
Yeah.
So as not to burden that other person that they're with.
Yeah. Yeah,
But we know, like most of the time, we know what's going on. We just don't talk
So
about
maybe
it. Your
people
wife
are
is probably comfortable enough to call you out on stuff.
Yeah. So it could be that others are noticing it and they're just not saying anything. That's a real possibility. I never thought about that. I thought I was doing a good job of it, but they're just letting me be in that moment and not. Okay.
And it might just be out of respect, you know.
Yeah.
If Rollis wanted to share this with me, he would have. If he wanted to talk more about something, he'd have offered it. I don't want to probe. I don't want to ask questions that would make him uncomfortable. And I think we all give each other that comfort berth. That you know, we don't want to impose. But what happens when you don't want to impose the burden and they don't want to impose the question is a barrier for connection. So you make that choice, right? When you're not feeling well and you show up and you just smile instead of acknowledging what's going on, you remove that moment of connection from possibility. And you have the rest of your operating communication to connect with.
So I guess what you're saying is a lot of my connections can end up being somewhat superficial because we're never crossing that barrier.
Yeah. Mine too. You know, it happens especially if you're producing content or speaking, or people understand that you're providing a certain kind of branded value. And your personal experience is less of a part of that because you want them to see the service, or you want them to understand what the benefit of the service is. And it happens, right? Because we're like, here, let me just go and like equip you and give you all the things you need to go and improve in your life right now, and then you'll think of me. But actually, what happens when people only think of the business value of something is that when they connect to someone else who provides a comparable business value, but has a deeper connection with them as a person, that's who they give the business to.
Yeah. Wow. That, you know, you may be hitting on something that I may have not realized it, but I've been a victim of my own circumstance in terms of creating those type of interactions and not knowing why did I lose this piece of business? Why didn't I get this business? Why am I not doing the business with this person? Because if I'm strictly doing it from a business context and there's no room for further connection, then that someone else may be making that connection that I'm not making, and that's why they're getting the business.
Right. You don't know the whole world out there. So that's one. We're like 25% in, so you want to take a break for a second and think about that while we look at some of the comments and acknowledge some people who are here. Yeah,
feel free. I'm you know what? Here's one thing that I've tried to do here is I tried to be present in the moment and not look at any comments or any external factors, so I could really listen to what you're saying. So, how often?
That's cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of times I've been given a show.
I have to go over to LinkedIn or something to go and look at the comments, but I'll also check and see if Joe wants to call any of them out in the back end here for us.
Yeah, if you want, Joe, if you want to pop. In fact, she's got something in the chat already. Let's see what she's got here. She's given you a link. If you want to, you can click and check some of the comments. I'm going to look down. I only see 2 right now because I can't see all the ones before that. I'm just looking at what I see in front of me. Okay. I see Noelle saying, Sky says, hi, Patty, and spot on, Lila. Noelle says, spot on, Lila. Lori says, late to the party. Hello, Rollis and Lila. So yeah, we've got quite a few. So if you see some, let me know, and we can.
So for those of us who are just joining us, what just happened is through a very natural discussion where I'm just asking some little probing questions, like, ooh, what's that? Let's talk about that. Ooh, what's that? Let's talk about that. What's happening is that we have just discovered it's possible that Rollis has been building super branded barriers between himself and personal connection with others. And I'm wondering how often this happens in your life outside of a professional atmosphere. Do you ever find yourself code switching or branding yourself or imagining that you have to wear a certain thing or present yourself a certain way to be taken seriously?
Pretty much 90% of the time.
Damn.
Maybe 95. Because
wow.
Yeah, because
exhausting.
But you know, it goes back to service, right? So a core part of my being is I love to serve. I love to help. And so sometimes part of service is not revealing everything you have to allow that person to reveal what they have, and then you're able to help them, that person. So that's what I fall into. And once you get into a habit and you do it so often, maybe even in moments where you would like to let more of yourself open, it's just a habit. I'm so used to just holding it in. So I think that there's probably some of that there too. It's become comfortable.
Yeah. Well, it's become protective, right?
Yeah.
You've built yourself this wall and this process and this system. And if you can be in the set of rules that apply to this system and this process, then you're comfortable knowing if it's working or not, if people are with you or not, if they're buying into what you're selling or not.
Yeah.
Sounds tiring though.
Yeah, it can be at times. I think that I need to work on, I would like to, I shouldn't say I need, I would like to work on opening up myself a more. But that is difficult to do when you're not used to doing it. It's literally a habit.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably only a few people in the world right now that I would just totally open myself up to, including my wife and then a few other folks. But a vast majority of the people, they're only going to see just certain levels, and it's not that I mean to do that, but it's just a habit now.
You've built this habit, but there are people who see it, who allow you crack open in front of these people, right?
Yeah.
Are you afraid that if you crack open in front of those people that they'll find it uninteresting, or that they'll think it's fluffy stuff, or that it doesn't serve them in the way that you want to serve them? Because I get that you want to serve these people, you want to do right by them.
I think that there's so many layers to that, because it depends on the audience, it depends on the setting. You know, there's a time and place for everything, I believe, and so there might be a certain setting where in that setting it may not be good for me to do it. Maybe
like what? Like now?
Possibly.
So let's talk about it. Like, we can't talk about, mythical layers, because we can't for sure answer, but we can talk about now.
Okay.
You're live.
Okay.
You're on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Who might be watching?
Anyone. I mean, anyone could be watching.
Who are you the most scared is watching?
Who am I the most scared is watching? Wow. I would say, one of the things I don't want to do is I don't want to stumble anyone, obviously. So I don't want to say something that would make them feel differently, necessarily, either about me or about themselves. So that's part. I don't know if that helps to answer your question, but I think. What
do you mean feel differently? So feel differently than what? What do you want people to feel about you? For sure.
Man, we're just really breaking it. They're just breaking it between my core here, Lila. It's like, wow.
Well, this is your chance to say if my ideal client, let's say your ideal client or the ideal talent, like the ideal RN is watching this, or the ideal hospital chain or network is watching this, and their head of people and hiring. So those two people are watching this right now. What do you want to make sure for sure that they know about you?
That I am here to serve. I want to help. I want
Right.
to engender a relationship that's a long-lasting relationship. I'm going to, to the best of my ability, always do the right thing for them and for the overall relationship. Principle-centered, value-based. So, if we're going to be able to find a way to lie, cheat, or steal to get to a certain degree, I'm not willing to do that. I'll just back out. So I would like them to know that.
True?
Yeah.
So if that is all true, and I'm going to just give you the opportunity to promise, like put that into a promise that I promise that that's all true.
Yeah, that's true. 100%.
Great. If that is all true, 100%, then what are you afraid that they'll find out if everything that you do is true to that?
I guess none of those things would be things. I mean, there are other things too, though. Like, I have views that. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say someone is highly politically motivated, and they have a certain affinity to a certain party, for example.
Okay.
And if I don't share those same affinities to either party, which I don't, I'm neutral on that. That may be something that doesn't align with them. But at the same,
that's a great example. So when you're thinking about your life and your stories, you can share what does exist in there and draw the line with politics and just not talk about those topics because you don't want to be polarizing where you aren't polarizing. But I bet you have some feelings where you are willing to be polarizing, where you say there is no person who could be sitting here in this room right now or watching this session whose business would matter more to me than
lying, cheating, or stealing.
Great. So anytime you put down lying, cheating, or stealing, anytime you talk about your life stories where those things have come up, you're showing and exhibiting your values. And if those people are offended by those values, they can walk.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
Are you comfortable letting them out that door?
Yeah.
Great.
100%.
What a good place to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in that case,
don't go hard for the stuff that you don't really feel that hard on.
That's true.
That's not the stuff that's true to you.
And there's a lot of folks in my industry, because of where they are, let's say a high level of HR, they want to avoid anything that's controversial or making big mistakes too. So I know that's something. Oh yeah, it's big. It's a big thing.
They want to avoid it, or they want to avoid being seen as having a controversial opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want any controversial opinions being attached to them or the brand, whatever like the label is.
Right.
Controversy is something very easy to avoid. You know what the hot topics are. But being personally open and vulnerable, you can choose the things that are more important to you. That you say, if there's controversy around this, I stand firmly on this side of it. And that's how you know where your loudest voice should be. Yeah. In the world of HR, there are controversies constantly. You can discuss the controversies that are happening. You can bring in experts to break down different sides of a controversy that add value to those conversations that you're having behind closed doors in the DMs, where those people in HR, they can't really align themselves one way or another publicly, but they might still really want the meat of that conversation.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Yeah.
Think about what we watch on TV, right?
Yeah.
I watch the worst stuff. I'll just say right now, I watch everything that's in the Bachelor franchise, including both of our current Bachelorettes, catching up on Claire Crawley's mini season, and then I'll be getting into the next one with Tayshia Adams. And I mean, this is what I go for on TV. Like, does it really matter to me that much that people know this about me or not in my spare time. No, not when I can break it down like this. I have professional confidence.
Right.
And so do you, right? I mean, you know what you're doing professionally.
Yes. It's interesting you said that about, okay, so here's one thing that I would like to do more of, but I don't even know if they may not even care, but I would like to do more of the real me. I don't talk about like I like to dance, right? I like to dance with my wife, stuff like we do like salsa, bachata, cumbias, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Or something that's kind of silly for a guy that's my age is that I do still play video games. I play video games.
Oh, video games?
Yeah.
That's also not silly.
I play John Madden football, and I'm actually historically I've been usually in the top 10% in the world when I play. Yeah, when I play online.
Okay.
This year I'm a
hearing
little bit
that
down.
Quality and excellence are important to you.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. Yes, that's true.
That's great.
That's true.
All right, so let's look at those things that are part of you. You want to share the real you, and you're worried that things like that might delegitimize you in some way.
Yeah, and that's silly. Maybe I shouldn't.
Teach me, tell me something that you've learned about people, or that might apply to HR. How can you maximize HR professionals with a lesson you've learned from bachata?
Ooh, that's good. Okay. Now, my absolute favorite would be salsa merengue, but I do some bachata. Okay. Now Jo, who's in the background, she's in production. She knows a lot more about bachata than I do. But I'll tell you this: bachata or salsa or merengue, either one of them. And I like reggae dancing too, Jamaican.
Oh,
dance.
me too.
But any one of those that are more partner related, you have to work with the other partner, and both cannot be trying to have the same role and it work well. So if both are trying to lead and both are trying to follow, it doesn't work. One has to kind of be willing to be that partner to complement the other person. So I think that's one thing that I've learned, because a lot of times in recruitment, especially, which is the side of the HR that I'm in, is whenever an agency is working with a hospital, they tend to both try and lead. They try and both try and compete, and who's going to fill the job faster. Yes, we want you to work on it, company, to help us out, but at the same time, we're going to be trying to fill it ourselves, and we're not really going to be working together on this. We're just going to be seeing who finishes the fastest. Whereas with our service, we came up with a service. It's still in the recruitment space, but going back to the dancing example, we're working together to make a beautiful dance together. And that comes from the client is taking the lead, because they're saying that, okay, we want this and that things done. They want these particular jobs filled, and we're following that. But we're trying to make ourselves to be a good partner of theirs, so that we can.
Imagine them dancing with someone else. It might look different.
Yeah.
Or imagine them dancing with someone else who feels that they must be the lead.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It'll be a very different feeling. So I'd love to see you talk about that. Lessons from dance that apply. I think that was beautifully put. Okay,
well, thank
next,
you.
John Madden football, right? Like John Madden football. Tell me what you've learned playing this game. You've gotten to a point where you have historically been in the top 10% of players in John Madden football. This is a video game that's played by men, women, children, all over the world.
Yeah.
For years now. This is an established game. Lots of people will relate to it. Some people, I've never played it, but I've watched other people play it.
Yeah.
I'm aware of what it is, but I've never played it. So teach me. Tell me what you've learned from playing this game.
This is very interesting.
What do you have to be aware of at all times?
So I play the online platform, and when I talked about the 10% and all that stuff, they only rank the top 100,000 players. So what I've noticed in playing the players, and I can tell when I'm playing a lower ranked or a higher ranked person, is that whenever you watch them play, there are certain players that they are so good at just a handful of plays. There's probably 200 plays or more you could run in this game. But I'll be playing with someone who's very, very good, and they got maybe 5 or 6 plays they run. And out of the, I don't know, maybe there's like 50 different types of sets, not just plays, but just like the way you set your players up before the play starts. I usually only play with about 3 out of all those. So a lot of times what I've learned from John Madden that actually works with recruiting is that even though there's hundreds of different ways to advertise positions and do recruiting and all that, you try and find the plays that and the sets that work best with your organization and what you're trying to do. And you just keep running those plays until they don't work. And you switch back and forth between those plays, and that puts together a very strong game. Where I've seen some folks fail is that they do 1 or 2 plays the whole game, and it's too easy to figure it out. And then by the end of the game, I've already figured it out, and I've already beaten them. Or on the other side of the coin, I see them try so many different things that they never actually get good at any particular play enough. And I'm able to just find a couple of defenses that I can easily counteract them with.
So having masters, people that you can go to for the kind of plays that work within your organization, it's a very different take on recruiting. I've never heard anyone else say that, which means that goes in your toolbox. Those 2 things that you just talked about, the dance and the John Madden, instead of being things that are too personal to share, they now are 2 things that are benefits that set you apart. So those are the things that are tools in your toolbox that might not be in someone else's. And what they show us is still, Rollis wants to serve. Oh, but he really can serve. And he's got things to serve that are different than what anybody else has. And what an incredible picture this paints of what it's going to feel like. If I were you and making content about this, I would say, let me make the translation to what does that feel like in a corporate healthcare environment? What does that look like? Is there an example of that in the news where people are trying too many things, or they've hired 100 consultants in the last 1 year to try and come in and help them with their culture, right? So there are some red flags that you can talk about that would be red flags in the game too. Like literally a flag.
Yeah.
Flag gets thrown.
And okay, so you brought up something else. So like, I'll be playing somebody, and there's a certain play that they'll run, and I've already kind of figured out, okay, they're probably going to run this play again. So they become so predictable that it's very easy to counteract it. How I would relate that to recruiting is some of the things that the HR departments have, some of the things that have not been, that it's not been a good experience for them in working with agencies. It's because they keep running the same plays. They keep doing it the same way, which is, okay, we're going to work with these same type of agencies that offer this type of service, and it becomes less and less effective. It may work for a little while, but then it stops working. One saying I use a lot is it works until it stops. It works until it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that do work until they don't work anymore, because at some point, that just like I'm trying to hit that certain player at a certain spot, and I'm trying to get it right, and the guy intercepts it, and I try it again because I just want to do it more right this time. He intercepts it again, so I could keep doing that, and I'm just going to get killed in that game. Versus going ahead and trying something that's a little bit different. Maybe it's a similar play. Perhaps I have the receiver go to a different direction, or maybe I do a fake on something like that to just kind of mix it up a little bit. I do see that quite a bit. And then I also see another way where for the ones who try so many different plays, they don't really get good at really any of them, is that one of the things I get back when I talk with HR folks is, oh yeah, we did that. Oh yeah, we did. Oh, Google Ads, yeah, we did Google Ads. Oh yeah, videos, yeah, we did videos too. You did Facebook? Yeah, we do Facebook too. Yeah, they did those things. That's true. But did they do it a similar way than what we've done over time, where we've kind of made a lot more mistakes, did a lot more times in different ways across different environments? Not that we're better than them at all. Not trying to paint that picture, but just we've had a different experience where we might be able to use some of the same things that particular organization has used, and it may not have worked for them, but it can work. Can
you give me an example of one of those mistakes?
Okay.
What have you tried that didn't work?
Okay, so like I've seen, I'll give you one prime example. Very large organization. I talked to them, and one of the things we talked about some of the things that we help with, and one of the things we mentioned were the Google Ads. So like, oh yeah, we do the Google Ads. So, oh, okay, all right, great, yeah. But it didn't really work for them. Okay, but then when I go look at when I went to look at their information and saw how the Google was interacting with me, I saw that it was missing so many things. It was just text based. It wasn't targeted correctly. And when I got the information, there was nothing about videos. There was nothing appealing about the art. It only showed what they were requiring and not what they were offering. I mean, it was just so many things that were
if your Google
wrong.
ads, like this just in, if your Google ads are only showing what you're requiring and not what you're offering, you're not necessarily doing it right.
Yeah. So that's just one example. I had another example where I was on LinkedIn and I got served with an ad for an OR nurse, right? And obviously I'm not an OR nurse, but they just didn't do the targeting right on it. And so I did a video and showed them that it's true you're doing LinkedIn. Great. That's advertising. That's great. I want to applaud you for that. However, if you just tweak your targeting, you're going to make sure that you don't have as many false positives. People who are getting the ad that it doesn't even apply to them.
Did you put that video up on LinkedIn as a piece of content?
Well, no, I just did it. I didn't want to embarrass anybody, so I just sent it straight to them.
And Can you not like beep out the name or use a little black bar or something, or say like, here's the job description?
That's a great.
Come on and use this video. Take a snippet of this and be like, well, a large organization. I got served with an ad. I'm not an OR nurse. Here are some of the things that they could have done differently. Like, you really want to serve it to everybody.
That's a great point, Lila. I didn't even think of doing that. I just was thinking about, okay, I wanted to send it to that person directly so no one's embarrassed, and but I didn't think about the fact that maybe I could have blacked some things out.
That you can do to prevent other people from being embarrassed by like having ads that they're paying a lot for that fail, that then they get measured on. Like, people get measured on the performance of their efforts, and if you're noticing that their efforts are not getting them results, and you can serve them, if it is your goal to serve, and you know who your audience is, who you're serving, go ahead and serve them, and just find a way to keep things. There are certain things that you just keep private. I never suggest to people that they be polarizing for the sake of being polarizing,
right?
Or that they be loud for the sake of getting attention, or that you overshare things for the purpose of anything other than trying to serve. If you're trying to serve your audience, and you know what they really need,
absolutely,
what would stop you from sharing that?
So part of it has to do with perspective, and that's where coaching helps. Like, you talking me through this, I didn't think about the fact that I could have done that. But now that you say it, it makes sense. I could have done some things that could have masked who the particular client was or the organization was, but still teach an important and valuable lesson for folks who are, literally wasting hundreds and thousands of dollars, perhaps millions of dollars in some cases, on some of these ad campaigns they're very nice, slick ad campaigns. I've seen a lot of them. But they're just, it's like... as
soon as you become an OR nurse, I'm sure you'll respond to those like ads.
And then, like, I remember Mike Myers had this old movie where he would say the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yes! What is that? Is that Wayne's World?
No, it was actually a serious romantic movie, but they made it as a comedy in the trailer, which just totally blows my mind. It's like, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It wasn't one of his more popular movies. I remember. I think it had Gwyneth Paltrow was in it, I believe.
Shallow Hal?
No, it wasn't that one.
That's not Mike Myers. That's Jack Black.
That was Jack Black.
We'll have to talk about that offline.
Yeah, somebody look at that. Put it in the comments.
Yeah. So you let's think about this now, right? Like, let's say you're talking about just the Google ads.
Okay.
And the stuff that you know.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know 100 things within Google ads that people could be looking for.
Yeah.
If you become the trainer of those things and you do like a tip per week, then you have stuff that you can put into your newsletter. You have links to content that you can include in your emails out. And you also have stuff that, as you're meeting people who have the role that would be responsible for the marketing arm of their recruitment efforts, you have actual content that can actually serve them in a mistake they might be making right now.
Yeah.
Today.
Absolutely.
So if you're in conversation with those people, in the DMs. You say, oh, what's your role? Like, what are your biggest, like, what's on your plate today or something, whatever you talk about. I hate it when people who don't know me open with like, hey, what are your biggest business challenges? I'm like, why should I tell you? I don't know you. I'm not going to tell you my biggest business challenges.
Yeah.
What? You haven't earned my trust to open up to you about that stuff. But if you just know, oh, I see somebody here has this role.
Yeah.
You can use that content to deepen the conversation.
Yeah,
that's
good.
I see that you work within marketing, within recruitment, within HR in your organization. I'm not sure who runs Google Ads over at your company, but this is something I went into today. It's possible because this happened recently with a very large organization that it might be happening with you too. I go over some of the mistakes that people frequently make for good reasons with good intentions when they're doing Google Ads. So I just thought this might be useful. Would love to know if this has come up with you before or if it helps in some way. If not, just like know that I'm here and that I do this stuff. I go into things in a very granular way when I review strategy. And I'm always here if you have any questions of your own that I can turn into anonymous tips for content. So then you become the person too, that if they want some free advice,
right?
Sure, but you're going to turn it into content. And then you have this relationship where they are coming to you for advice. So that's how you leverage and distribute content out here to everybody, right? You know what to serve. You're serving it to everybody in general. But when that one person is there, you're going to serve it right to them. No matter how long that post has been out of the feed, if it's still relevant and it's still true, you can give it right to them.
Oh, I like that. We got somebody came in, by the way. Joe just sent us something here.
Oh, okay.
Grom G as an H.
Oh, G says, I think she wrote from G.
Oh,
as
from
an
G.
HR person, recruiter, and a current job seeker reaching out to said recruiters. This is spot on, Rollis.
Okay, well, I don't know what was spot on, but thank you, wherever that was.
Yeah. I also saw a comment from Noelle earlier that I want to acknowledge, that there's a stigma around divisive content or controversy. People want to avoid the controversy because they want to get hired. I mean, I get that, right? But it's asking yourself why. Why are you trying to be controversial, or are you trying to stand up for what you believe in? And so if you can really clarify what your objective is. An objective is one of the primary steps within the Say Things Better methodology. You have to be able to say, here's my goal. I want to be controversial. Or here's my goal. Like, I want to get attention, or I want to stand up for my beliefs. Without my even telling you the other steps of the method, you know whether one of those goals is aligned with your values or not. Usually the things that are aligned with your values are going to align you with the results you want.
I'm going to give you an example of something happened to me today, okay? This guy sends me a message. Huh?
It's timely,
Yeah. So this guy sends me a message. He says, I can't believe you're connected. But mind you, I have 30,000 connections. I can't believe you're connected with this person because he says such and such and such about the president or whatever. I'm looking, and he says, I'm gonna disconnect with you, and you can do yourself a favor and tell that person something. Okay, so I go look at the other person's profile, and it was kind of extreme what the person was saying. But then I went back to this person, and then I saw that he's also posting things that are also polarizing too. On the other side, I was like, well, both of you are actually, putting polarizing things out there. So I'm just going to remove both of you, and that's what I did.
If that's what you want, I mean, if you don't want to have those kinds of conversations happening around you, or at least on LinkedIn, that's totally your prerogative. If that's the experience you want, curate it to be what you want. I mean, I've got people I'm connected to who I feel very differently from about a lot of things that they're very public about. But my relationship with them does not depend on their perspectives on those issues. So I remain connected with them.
That's true, and I agree with you too. The problem I had with one of the one who he pointed me out to, it was very it was very hateful, some of the comments. But then the person who was making this suggestion to me was not comporting himself in the right way with me. The way he came to me, I don't need that in my life. The way he was,
he's entitled to make your decisions about who you should have relationships with.
Yeah, he's basically bullying me.
Yeah.
And threatening to remove his connection from me. I was like, I'll do the favor for you. I'll just go ahead and remove it. Because I'm already at the limit anyway. I got like 400 connections. I can't even accept them right now because I'm limited. And this guy here is giving me a hard time. I'm just like,
go ahead, whatever.
Yeah, he's not hurting me at all.
Good for you for drawing your boundaries and also for recognizing that behavior as being the thing that was against your values more than what either of them were really saying.
Yeah.
Like there's the content of what we say, and then there's the intent of what we say.
Yeah.
And if you're really trying to deliver a message, warning someone, if your intention is to protect, and again, I'm using these verbs here so you know, am I doing it or not? Am I protecting Rollis this way? Well, first of all, if you're really trying to protect, you have to ask yourself, is there harm? Is there impending harm?
Yeah.
Am I yanking him by the arm out of oncoming traffic here? Or am I protecting him from something I'm afraid of?
Yeah.
So you hold yourself accountable to your own values, your own intentions.
Yeah.
What was the harm there?
Okay, to just to piggyback on what you said, which is interesting, part of what he said in his message was that I'm going to stop liking and commenting and following on your stuff. And I'm thinking, I don't remember him ever doing that. So I looked at his stuff. I was like, this guy's never followed my stuff anyway. So I thought it was disingenuous. It was bullying, and for those two things, I was like, I'm out. And then of course the other guy, I was like, ooh, that is extreme. So I went ahead and just cut it, because that's not really what LinkedIn is about right now. We're about growth. If I only connected with people who thought like me, I would have very few connections. I certainly would not have 30,000.
Right. Well, and you'd have less of an interesting conversation.
It's true. So I like talking to people who have a different viewpoint. Yeah, but let's respect each other in the meantime. We can have different viewpoints, but let's just be respectful about it. And fortunately, I've had a lot of folks on my shows that think very differently from me. I mean, extremely different. But we're able to have a conversation. We don't have to argue about it. And a lot of times on my show, I don't even really say what my opinion is anyway. I'm there to get their perspective and interview them. So I'm not really judging them back like, oh, that's wrong, or that. I might ask an additional clarifying question, but I'm not really challenging a lot. That's not really the format that I've kind of created. I want to at least, because to me, if you start blocking people too soon, you're gonna miss out on a lot of data that you would have gotten otherwise. So I like to try and collect as much data as I can before I show my cards, so to speak, on how I feel about it.
I'm wondering if you consider yourself an investigator.
I think
like an examiner or like an investigator or a detective.
Sometimes, yeah. Even when I'm talking with a client, I know a lot of folks they focus on what they're going to present, and I focus more on what questions I'm going to ask. Yeah. Because I want to get certain pieces of data and find out what they're doing, and I get so much more out of the meeting than if I focus too much. And I've actually made the mistake of focusing too much on what I'm going to say versus on what I'm possibly going to hear.
Wow.
And so that's something I want to do even a better job at. And I think that's part of what this LinkedIn Live has done for me, is it's helped me to learn how to ask better questions. And then to me, it's not as much the first question as it is the follow-up question. So when they say something, I ask a question that's a follow-up on what they just said, and now we're able to go, just like what you did to me earlier. You actually did the same thing to me earlier.
Yeah.
And
here's this. What's a little bit further? What's a little bit further? Yeah,
exactly. That to me is much more meaningful.
TV show Dora the Explorer.
I've heard about it. I've never watched it, but I'm very familiar with it.
Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yes, yeah, especially the books and all that. I remember you have to look at see where she is in the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Where's Waldo? The Where's Waldo books?
Yes.
Have you ever had one of those Where's Waldo books where you find Waldo?
I don't know that I've had the book, but I remember seeing the book or seeing a page of it. I don't know that
Yeah.
I've personally
So
owned one.
there are these big pictures with tons and tons and tons of little people in a village or a scene, or there's a random dragon and a Viking, and then there's a doctor. And there are two different ways of approaching a page in a Where's Waldo book. Some people scan for the red and white stripes or the hat or whatever Waldo is wearing, and they go to just find Waldo, and they're like, okay, got it. Next page. And what they've missed is that an artist has created this intentionally confusing but very live scene. And
Right.
some people open those books and they pore over the stories for hours on one page. They're like, wow, look at all of what's happening here.
Yeah.
And I wonder, you really take it all in. Shabnam messaged in the comments here something I want to echo, that you're a very good present listener. And that's why the following questions are so good. And I asked you if you thought that you were an investigator or a detective, because you also mentioned, we speak in our values often. You mentioned that something you value about your wife is that she's able to tell what's happening, and she'll call you out and she'll ask you the questions until she gets to what the real thing is.
Yeah.
Which tells me that you value that about her.
Yes.
And you probably value that about yourself. And if you became more intentional about doing that same thing, you would feel more active and aligned in your own values.
Yes. Yeah. Because
you mean to ask those questions. To explore might be a good verb for you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so I recognize she does that for me, but then I in turn do my best to do the same thing for her.
Because
anticipate.
you value that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You value partnership and hearing and exploration and service.
Yeah.
So in Verb Your Values, which I'm doing on Wednesday night, it might be that one of your drafts of an intentional communication promise would be, I'm Rollis and I promise to serve, to explore, and to partner with my audience.
I like that.
It might be that. Yeah,
What about anticipate?
It's a good listening verb.
Well,
Right?
should I anticipate too? Should I include that?
You can't anticipate and explore at the same time.
Ah, that's right. You're right. I had to do the work first. I had to explore first, then I can anticipate later.
You don't have to anticipate at all.
Okay, don't anticipate. Just explore. Right.
If you're exploring what your wife is going through, and you're really partnering with her.
Yeah.
And you're exploring what your client is going through, what's going on in the industry right now. And you're exploring their company, and you're exploring the posts that people who work there are creating, and you're taking this all in and you're exploring it. It's very easy for you to kind of surf.
Yeah.
The right thing at the right time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, one of the things I guess when I was thinking when I was saying this, but I'll give you one example. Let's say I have a client who I know periodically will ask me or ask us, our company, for certain pieces of information that are reporting features. Maybe they want to know what has been our time to fill, or what has been our candidates that's been delivered, or where are our candidates coming from, or something like that. So they ask some piece of information, and it's usually in preparation for some meeting. Maybe the next time, if I know when the next meeting is going to be, if I've explored enough or have that type of relationship with the client, I may just have that information ready. What's that?
If you're really partnered with them, you ask them, what kind of meetings do you have coming up this week? I'm going to give you some stuff to take with you that's going to make you look like the hero.
Ooh,
and whether it has to do with you or not.
Look at you. I like that.
You
go. I like that. That's better. That's
Be
better than
in
idea.
the conversation.
Yes.
In a real partnership, like you're with your wife every day.
Yeah.
She's in it. You're in it with each other.
Yes.
When you are in the conversation and it's ongoing, there's no need to ask all the questions anymore. You can ask one question to go a little bit deeper, but you already know.
Yeah. What meetings do you have coming up in the next week or so? And then once I tell them what those are, let me give you some stuff.
What's your most important or most high stakes meeting coming up in the next week? I'm going to use everything I have to pick one thing that will take no more than 40 seconds of your time.
Ooh, I like that too.
And I'm going to give you that one thing to make you a hero at that meeting.
Oh man, that's awesome right there.
What's the highest stakes meeting?
So I love that.
You, Rollis, like, what is the highest stakes meeting that you have coming up in the next 1 week? It could be professional or personal. What's the highest stakes? Yes, you want to get.
For me, the highest stakes meeting would be we have a client meeting, one of our particular client meetings on Monday mornings, and that's my highest stake meeting I think of the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is what's the purpose of the meeting?
The purpose of the meeting is to kind of update on where we are and to find out what's the current pain points of the organization that we're working with, so that we can provide assistance and help in those areas, and giving them feedback and information based on what we've found out over the past week that we think will help them in those pain points or perhaps other pain points that they've mentioned in the previous meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you something just based on what you have said. Now, this is my timer.
Okay.
And so I'm going to limit myself to the 30 seconds that are contained in here to give you the thing that's going to make you a hero at that meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So, from my theater experience, there is a term called inciting incident. An inciting incident is the thing that happens following which there is the real story. So there's like everything that's already been going on, everything it's kind of troubling, right? But then one thing happens and the main character, the protagonist, is like, no more, something must change. At that point, you have the highest possible conversion rate. You have the point where people are going to say, no more of this.
Right.
So either you're looking for the straw that broke the camel's back for them already in this last week, or it's going to be up to you, Rollis, to propose, here's a story of something that's going on in the industry, going on with your company, something that I know about. If this is going on for you, and you really paint the picture with the straw that broke the camel's back for someone else, do you want to avoid that? Because we have the thing. And so that moment is what to bring in. And I'm out of sand.
I like that too. That's awesome. Yeah, I can think of
really bring it in with you.
Yeah, this is really good.
Oh, I love this from Joe. Joe, the inciting incident is an episode, plot point, or event that hooks the reader into the story. This particular moment is when an event thrusts the protagonist into the main action of the story. Thank you, Joe. That is a very good Google. Or maybe she binged it. I don't know.
That's awesome. Thank you, Joe.
Offend any Microsoft people here.
That's right. It is owned by Microsoft, right?
Right. Right. But that moment, that inciting incident, that's very useful when you're creating content, when you are writing your emails, when you're doing anything. I have a client, ERS, Educational Resource Systems, and I did their email marketing with them. I did a kickoff with them, and we put some stuff up. You know, they paid me what I get paid to do this, and then they, within a couple of months, made a $116,000 sale from one of these emails.
Wow.
What's in the email? Inciting incidents in every single
Oh my goodness.
Inciting incidents, stories that have that moment that you're like, that better not ever happen to me. Oh, I see then how to handle that.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
In every one of those. And then also just tremendous value. They have these series that they do, or a WebEx 1 hour thing that then they'll break down into little pieces of micro learning and serve those so that it's easy. You can't ask for too much of people's time either.
Right.
And in these meetings, the sooner that they can have the high value from you, the sooner you're all done with it and that they feel like this was worth it.
Yes.
Like, I think you and I had a good session. At 15 minutes, we could have ended this, and you would have been like, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. This is tremendous. Folks who are watching, I hope this is a tremendous value for you, because I know it was for me. It was incredibly valuable. I'm going to be watching this over and over again.
You got to show it to your wife too, because you said so many nice things about her.
Yes, I will do that. And, you know, she doesn't like attention. She doesn't like attention at all. She doesn't like me talking that much about her, because she's just kind of private. But at the same time, I think it is she appreciates it though. She appreciates that this is just one way that I want to shine a favorable light on her.
Yeah. So. Well, we're shining a light on really what it is that she enabled you to do.
Well, that's true too.
You were really busy.
That's true.
And you were not eating.
Yeah.
And the woman comes into a room with a nice hearty breakfast sandwich. Like, that is the nicest thing. If somebody, I mean, that's so nice. But what it enabled you to do was continue with your day and be your most productive self. It's helpful to people who are working with you to know that you're not alone and that you're not going to just end up starving because you don't have a nice wife. You know?
No, I appreciate that. You're such a thoughtful person that it just comes through. So I want to thank you for that. Thank you for what you've done today. You are amazing. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, even though we're like hundreds of miles, well, 250 miles away, I felt like we were all basically like in the same room communicating. It was very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me and letting me do this. And thanks for opening up and sharing about the stuff that you usually keep closed behind doors.
Yeah, that was tough, but thank you so much. And those are the comments. Let us know what resonated with you from today. What did you learn? Not necessarily about me, but just about yourself. Like what did you learn that you feel like you're going to be able to take from today's session and use it to grow? Because it's all about Growth Monday, which I think Lila did an awesome job of helping us grow on Growth Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do a quick pose for the thumbnail. Okay, so we want to do the video guys when they do the editing. So we'll do a smiling one. Do you want to do a crazy one? Okay, excellent. Well, thank you everybody for watching. You guys are amazing today. Thank you for all your comments. I'm going to be going back through later and answering all of them. And Lila, thank you so much. What's the best way for folks to follow you? You have so much stuff. So much good stuff to follow.
I do. So I on LinkedIn is where I'll put out my content. I'm also on Clubhouse. If anybody is on that platform, I know it's invite only for now, but if you're on there, and you can find Lila Lasagna, that's me.
Okay.
I'm Lila Lasagna on most social media platforms, and also you can find saythingsbetter.com and find me on LinkedIn. I've been out hiking a lot, so if what you really want is to just get right to work, then email me directly at lila@saythingsbetter.com.
Oh, I love that. Okay, and so Joe is going to put in your website in there in the comments. And Clubhouse. I didn't know about Clubhouse. We'll have to put your Clubhouse link. I've never heard of that, but I will check it out.
I will take it offline with you so that I can help you get in there if you have an iPhone. It's iPhone only right now as it's in private beta. But it's a great audio-only social media platform. There are all kinds of people in there dropping in chat, and it's very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream here momentarily here, and then we'll be able to continue here. Let's see. Let me know when it's okay to stop, Joe, if you don't mind. Once you see we get that last point out, when we're just about to do our poses, I can go ahead and stop the stream, because it's usually like about well, you know this. I don't have to explain. You know how it lags behind us in real time.
We had a comment from Doug Thompson. There's no place for hate because that just closes the door to learning.
Yes.
Love that.
That is true. Oh my goodness.
How well said. Can you tell he's a Say Things Better client?
Oh, he must. Okay, he must be, because that was excellent.
Yes, he's alumni and an ongoing client and good friend. You're good. There's good stuff